on.
Hey,
everybody. Welcome to DnDTime Brews, a fun, relaxed little show where myself and the butcher himself, Peter,
hello.
we brew up some cool homebrew stuff for use in Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, and for you to use in your own games if you want. Pete, how are you on this wonderfully? Oh, and of course the chat helps because we love you, chat. The infinite wellspring of ideas. Pete, how are you?
The eternity knowledge. I am well. I'm doing good, Jeremy. I just poured. I just poured myself my brew. My brew for the day. I have the Sam Adams Oktoberfest because I've been drinking a lot of it while I can. I like Sam Adams. I always drink the. Yeah, it's the spookiest beer.
When did you meet Sam?
I met him at.
How long has this been going on, Pete? I had no idea about this relationship.
He's from.
I guess it can't be that much because you say his whole name, so like you can't know him that well.
Well, it's kind of like how you sometimes you're like so close with somebody that you just like you refer to them by their whole name. It's kind of like that, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm drinking rum.
Oh, really, Jeremy? Mixing it up tonight, huh?
Yeah. Well, there's Coke too.
Oh wait, never mind. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were just chugging the Kraken straight from the bottle.
A lot of rum tonight, courtesy of Jamie. Thank you, Jamie.
You're cracking the Kraken?
It's actually
Or I guess it's probably Sailor
yeah,
Jerry.
The Kraken has not yet sunk the Jerry ship, but we'll come to that a bit. How are you, chat? I see we got Xandaril, Bionic Sheba, D Forgotten One. Everybody's hanging out. I'm sure there are plenty more lurking in the shadows. You're also perfectly welcome.
Unfortunately, because there's too many scary emotes in it, and
I'll
get too scared.
Season. I've added some. We've got some vampires. Oh, it's just saying vampire if I type it. So, whatever. Vampires.
I'm just gonna put like. I just gotta put like an emote in chat to maybe make it like okay for myself, and we're gonna go with just this great pup. And now I'll feel a lot better. I can just look back at that pup and know that everything's okay. So now that I'm looking at chat, hello everybody that I see in chat.
So Pete, I'm really excited about today, and I hope our chat's really excited. I know you're also really excited. I'm excited. We're all excited. It's excitement.
Today we are going to be going through and doing some Halloween themed monsters to get into the kind of the festivities, the festive kind of spirit of Spooktober, October, Halloween, and all that. So me and Jeremy had like a couple of rough ideas. We're also just going to kind of see where things go because, in theory, barring any kind of change in plans, we are going to take whatever monsters we have here today, and the next time we do brews, create an adventure that kind of utilizes some or all of them.
It should be pretty radical.
And before we do that, however, we are going to go over a thing that we'll be releasing as part of DnDTime Brews, which we've already released for the most part, but the muse descended to Jeremy recently as
we finished a product.
Yes. The Florins are now officially up with kind of the nice sort of writing text and everything, the way that the other races that we have available are done up. And Jeremy, would you care to mention the addition that you added?
Yeah, so when I was putting these together, so here's the website. It might take a couple minutes for it to like finish updating. The website's still a little funky, it's a little slow, but we've got the whole Florin right up. It's all it's just nice and pretty now. However, we added another subrace of Florin in case maybe the inspiration struck you. I know it struck me. The Anemone. That's right. If you want to play a sea anemone person, you can. They're like the grumpy mean Florin.
And you could probably sort of wrap any aquatic plant life that you wanted up. Yeah, you could be a seaweed Florin probably with that.
Exactly. Kelp or anything you want, you can just kind of put into this anemone option. I'm really excited about it. I think it's really cool. You can have a cool special little friend who's just a clownfish who lives in your hair. It's wonderful.
Hell's yeah. And that's up on the website. So check it out. Check it out at your.
Sorry. Oh,
wait, what?
You got me. They're the Squidward of the anemone of Florin.
I mean, in more ways than one. Very good.
But
So yeah, check it out. It's on the website at your leisure. Not a lot to go over there. It's all pretty straightforward. We did it a while ago, but we've finally gotten it up to code with the other ones.
And if the links aren't bringing you to it on the website, just give it a couple minutes for the website to finish updating. But yeah, without further ado, let's kind of jump into this. So I know, Pete, we each came in with a couple of ideas of like monsters or concepts for monsters that we'd want to make. Like I think I came up with one that like I really was feeling, and I know you've come up with one too.
I only had one as well.
Yeah, and then from there, once we've kind of hashed out these two, we'll see what you guys got, right? And of course, all of you in the wonderful chat, please, type along, contribute, and we'll be reading what you guys say and incorporating it into the final design for these creatures. So Pete, without further ado, I think yours is kind of the big one, right?
Yes, because we both wanted to do the same thing pretty much.
Well, when we were talking, with another one because you came up.
Yes, because we came up with the same thing. So you let me kind of take this one.
Let's start with the big one. Let's start.
And that's a great place to start because the thing I wanted to do today is create a monster that has legendary actions, which we haven't done yet. So this is going to be a big boy that we make, and it's going to be a pumpkin-themed monster. The name that I was messing around with was based on the pumpkin-themed beer that's one of the best pumpkin beers called the Pump King. So I thought the Pump King would be a good monster, which would be just a giant sentient pumpkin that had all kinds of related pumpkin abilities, probably carved out in some sort of jack-o'-lantern pattern. I picture big kind of vines coming out from the sides of it that it moves itself and shuffles around on. Maybe if it's in the jack-o'-lantern form, it has some kind of fire-based attacks as the light from within kind of courses out, and of course other related pumpkin moves. Maybe it bakes people into pumpkin pies. Who could say for sure? We'll kind of go through in the brainstorming process now.
I almost see this almost like a beholder to a degree, but I mean we can go a lot of different directions.
Oh yeah, that would be.
It's got like the eye where the light shines out. That'd be so cool. I see Max Meister and Forgotten One asking in chat, are we going to be doing more monster submissions again? Not right now, sort of. So basically, we're going to roll through Pete's Pumpkin, get that guy hashed out. We're going to move on to the next monster, the one I kind of had planned. And then we're going to see what you guys say in chat. We're going to be looking for ideas. So if you come up with something cool, feel free to throw it in there. And we're just going to pick a couple out and build those. And by the end of the night, hopefully we'll have 3 or 4 pretty cool holiday Halloween-y monsters.
Yeah.
That's the hope, at least. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
I am as well. And maybe a cool thing we could do, maybe if we're doing like the jack-o'-lantern style carving, maybe there's something there with the ability to he has the ability to kind of shift around his face to make different jack-o'-lantern style faces, and that could be a way of, if we wanted to go a beholdery route of having him do a lot of different things, which is a very fun way to design a monster, is to give them a lot of different moves rather than just like one really powerful one that they use over and over again, which is, I think, what makes the beholder really fun and interesting to fight, is just that you'd never know what's going to happen.
I think what also could be cool, right, is if we made... So we have one of the core things on this, and I see Farful saying in chat, he's made a pumpkin before, where he just reskinned a roper, and that sounds really cool. So I love the idea of the roper
the vine like kind vines. Of the vine part of it, yeah, for sure.
We're actually gonna put that under vines, but I think what would be really neat, right, is maybe we can do something tactical with the way the light works. Maybe when the pumpkin shows up, right, there is no light except for in the cone coming out from the jack-o'-lantern face. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just magical darkness everywhere else. That could be cool.
Yeah, perhaps. Absolutely.
And I see the Forgotten One is posting a cool pumpkin monster in the Discord. Can't really check that right now, but feel free to contribute ideas in the chat. And of course, a Pumpkin King exists, the Forgotten One. We're aware. Everyone's made well, not everyone, but a lot of people have made.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic kind of archetype.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, I think that'd be maybe some cool positional light-based thing.
Yeah, that could be neat. That could be pretty rad.
What else do we think is really cool?
How intelligent do we think this thing is? Or
I think the pumpkin is super smart.
I think so too. And do we think of it as kind of like a spellcaster? Maybe it has some kind of innate. I definitely don't see this as being innate, like a learned spellcaster, but maybe a few innate spells it can do.
Yeah, kind of like a beholder, right? Or maybe it has spell effects,
spell-like abilities.
I think that'd be right. Something with slashing to carve the pumpkin. Maybe
a vulnerability.
Yeah, perhaps. So I don't know if we want to go straight vulnerability to slashing, but I think this is a cool idea. Something to do with slashing damage.
Yeah, the ability to carve him and create different kind of effects. I like the idea of just kind of carving around, like you just kind of like do enough slashing damage around his lips, and he becomes very sad as you've carved in a frown. Like,
okay. I'm trying to think what else. So maybe like we can do a pumpkin seed based thing, or pumpkin seeds / pulp. I think could be neat.
Probably we could have some kind of like spawn pumpkin minion kind of thing where there's lesser. I imagine if this is going to be a big boss, he's got some kind of miniature pumpkin minions that kind of move around him in the patch. If we're doing legendary actions, maybe there's some kind of lair in
legendary.
Well, if we're doing legendary, also maybe there's a lair involved with his pumpkin patch.
Mm-hmm. Pumpkin patch layer. Alrighty. And I see, pulp acting is like a web. Ooh, that could be really neat. I kind of like the idea of like the pulp kind of tying into that light, and that could be neat. That could be really neat.
Yeah.
Hey, Maddie, how you doing?
Good evening.
So we got a Maddie Morgs hanging out with us too now, and of course, Farfel. Let's see, what else do we think? So we got to give this guy legendary act. So, legendary actions and layer actions, something we haven't done yet.
Yeah, and maybe we end up not doing both of them, but
or maybe we do.
But
who knows?
Maybe we do, and I like the idea of it. I imagine he has also some kind of. I mean, he's a spooky. He's a spooky guy. He's got to have some kind of fear mechanic, I would imagine.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I like fear mechanic. Summon exploding pumpkins. I like it. No, we're not going to put that on there yet. Let's see. What else do we want? What else do I feel like is super fitting for this pumpkin?
I don't know. I think that's I think that's a pretty okay place to start.
Okay.
And we can start kind of really getting into the. I suppose the devil will be in the details on how we can do things. Because we have a word up there like vines. I can think of so many different things that one could do with something like vines. Be it moving around, pulling things forward towards him, pushing them away, whipping at people with them, like all of these. I think there's a lot to go on with some of the stuff we have there.
So I think the very first thing, let's start brainstorming what kind of mechanics this thing's got, right? So we've got fear, obviously, as a mechanic. And I think that probably is like a fear, but then once you save, you're good.
Yeah, and maybe it's not a frightful presence. Maybe this is like in the category of his legendary actions or something where he has some kind of terrifying laugh or roar.
So fear, definitely. I think this guy's got to swallow people. Because he eats them, right, and puts them inside of himself.
Oh, yeah.
I see him like lifting the top off himself and just plopping them in and closing.
And then probably, I think it would be fun instead of like the normal acid damage that one would take while swallowed. Yeah, it's fire damage, which is a very that sounds very scary to me.
So he swallows people, burns them alive inside of him. He's got a fear mechanic. We already got the vine, so I don't think this thing can like fly or anything, but it's got to be huge. I mean, I think it's a gargantuan creature.
I was picturing huge or gargantuan for sure.
And it's just walking around on like the vines, kind of like almost like a giant spider, but like a pumpkin.
What vibe do you want to go for this kind of creature? Like what?
Absolute horror.
Well, for sure, but. Do we want it to be the kind of thing, like, what mental stat do you picture for this creature as being their primary mental stat? Is like an intelligence kind of monster or a charisma monster? Like, I do like the idea of the scary, like, charming pumpkin almost. I'm picturing, the creepy southern accent, which is maybe I'm being influenced by something I've seen before. But
well, so I guess the question is: are we looking for something that is just like a pure intellectual evil, something like a mind flayer, right? That has a big overarching goal and has this intelligence and plan? Is this a creature that is going to try and take over? Halloween is their chance to take over, or is this more like a demon, which has a main goal of like just destroying everything that's not it and reshaping the world in its image? It's just kind of chaotic in that regard, but has this force of kind of charisma behind it.
It may be just my preference, but I personally prefer the more kind of driven and clear path, the more schemy kind of villain, which
Insane. Well, which one do you call that?
I see. I don't. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't want to make one that's necessarily just a force of nature, where the pumpkin is just kind of evil and rampaging. I like the idea of a smart pumpkin, and maybe it could be both intelligent and charismatic. But I definitely like, at the bare minimum, it being sentient, and like the idea of Halloween being its time to take over. It sounds like a kind of just a more interesting story to me personally.
I mean, I could see it a whole bunch of different ways, right? Because I'm trying to think of how people would use this kind of pumpkin monster. And I know, like, without an adventure in mind, which I don't have one in mind yet. Hopefully this one's... I know it's already inspiring ideas to me. Like, I could see this being the outcome of, like, if you want to do the more DnDTime thing, right? This is a mad scientist or a wizard or a chef romancer, if you're in the land of DnDTime, who's trying to grow the biggest pumpkin to win the pumpkin contest, right? And it becomes this terrifying force of whatever. That just, like, really stands out to me as, like, a cool way to use this creature. At the same time, maybe this is, like, some sort of sleeping, almost elder force that, when the stars have aligned in this day of Halloween, right?
The Pumpkin rises.
The Pumpkin rises. Right. That's a great name for an adventure.
And Farfel and Card Pocket were both saying when they hear the word king, they think wisdom and charisma from Card Pocket, and Farfel says he's a king. Charisma is more important than intelligence in leaders.
Okay, I'm gonna italicize charismatic. Put a top hat on the pumpkin. Does he need a top? I don't think we need to specify he's got a top hat, right?
Yeah, that'll be for when we design an adventure with this guy in mind.
Then we'll give him a top hat.
Yes. For now, we just want him to be a big pile of abilities.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got back on track to what he is. So he's gargantuan. He's got vines that he grabs and eats people with. He terrifies things.
Yep.
You were saying like a laugh, maybe like that can go on the fear effect.
Yeah.
What else? Right? What other cool like features do we expect on this? So a vine grab.
I realized that the thing that I was thinking of for this pumpkin, and I was like, I know that the vibe that I want to go for, and I realized that it was just Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I know. That's exactly what you're thinking about. Yeah. Right, but that's a great example of a great charismatic kind of monster.
Yeah.
What is Oogie Boogie's real kind of motivation? Right? Is it
I haven't seen that movie honestly in a while. I actually don't know.
Well, he's got his
goal. I just don't remember.
Right? He's got his goal. But what happens after that? And that's where it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, Boogie, I don't think knows what happens after he wins.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants to do. That's a charismatic villain. Whereas an intelligent villain not only has the plan, but has it thought through, has the, what happens next kind of in their mind that they're working toward. They're playing a bunch of pieces at the same time. They're not quite as single-minded and driven to their one specific goal. At least that's my kind of interpretation.
Yes. I see what you're saying, yeah. That makes sense to me.
I see this guy as much more single-minded, driven. Yeah, he's not playing 5 feet chess. Exactly, Card Pocket. Great analogy. Stem that looks like a crown. Oh, yes. Excellent addition. Stem that looks like a crown. Righteous. What happens next? I eat you. I dig it. Oh yeah, actually.
I liked the idea of kind of playing around with the light in the space using the light that comes out of the inside of him. There's definitely something very evocative. Imagine just being in like abject darkness, pair the darkness spell, and then you see kind of like the jack-o'-lantern eyes and mouth just open, and that being the only thing in the darkness, and then it's lighting up kind of where you're standing like a spotlight.
I think that'd be pretty radical.
That sounds pretty cool. So I think playing around with light, and maybe that's just kind of a move he has to kind of suck the light surrounding him into him, so it creates almost like a pseudo darkness spell.
Feed me, slaughter, murder. Oh no! Oh no! Little shop of horrors there. Spew pumpkin guts out for a web effect. Yeah, I like the web effect. I'm gonna put that back on, or not back on. A web effect with pulp. I super dig that. All right, so I think we're at a good spot. We can start like,
let's start
hashing things together.
Yeah, we start putting together. I think things like, we start putting together things like its strength and ability scores, and I imagine that kind of stuff will start to inspire us a bit. So
the Pumpkin. So this is going to be a gargantuan creature. I definitely see this guy as
plant. Gargantuan plant.
Gargantuan plant.
Oh, such a rare monster type.
Oh yes, plants. We're in, boys.
It feels
it's
good.
Time. And I think this character. I think it's chaotic evil.
Chaotic evil.
But we could. I guess we could say neutral evil, but I really like the chaotic evil.
I was thinking chaotic evil too. So let's follow our hearts there.
Those should be looked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pete, you gotta get your convention.
Plant 2, actually.
Plant.
I think plant 2.
I think plant 2.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. You're right.
Okay.
Swole plant monsters. Plant monsters are sorely underrated. Well, exactly, Maddie. So one of the great features of plant monsters that I love is almost all of them. They might actually all have it, except for Vegapygmies. Is false appearance. While this creature remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from blank.
From a gigantic, a fucking huge pumpkin.
Actually, we should spell gargantuan correctly. That's the first step. That was my fault. So let's talk about its armor class. I think we normally don't start here, but this guy is not going to be a dex-based armor class. This thing's going to have natural armor. How tough do you want the pumpkin to be? Well, actually, I'm sorry. I think what CR are we going for?
10.
I like a 15.
Ooh, 15. That's spicy.
I think we hit like a big boy here.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Boom, boom. And then if someone wants to pick out how much XP that is, or we'll just leave it. I don't care. Oh, excuse me. Probably doesn't have a burrow speed. That would be horrifying if it did. Oh no! Oh my! Do we want to give this a burrow speed?
I don't think we want to give him a burrow speed.
I don't think we do. It can't fly and it can't swim, but that's okay because it's very large and it can probably just walk through most. I think the pumpkin is fast. I think it's like a speed of 50. I think this thing moves very quickly on its giant vine.
I agree. And as for armor class, I feel like this creature is more of a health guy than an armor class guy. Like the big kind of round thing just sounds more like it can take a lot of hits than it does like it's going to protect itself. Seems easy to hit, I guess what I'm saying.
Oh, of course. Here's the thing, right? Armor class doesn't necessarily represent difficulty in being hit. Like a stone floor or wall, for example, has an AC of 17.
Yes.
That's not hard to hit a stone wall.
It's no.
How used to damage stone.
I understand that, but I don't think it's that hard to damage the pumpkin. I'm thinking maybe like a 15 or something around that range.
Yeah, I think 15 is wood, so maybe we give this guy 14.
Yeah, works for me.
Sounds good to me. Anything lower than that, we're getting into weird, like, especially at CR 15, we're getting into
level that it's at.
Disproportionate territory, where it's like, all right, if we make its AC lower, then give it more health to compensate, we're actually It's
It's
a
just going to get
12
hit.
versus a 14 and 11.
It's not a question. It's like no point in rolling against it at that level. It just always gets hit. Like,
plus, I like monsters that get hit easier. They're more fun to fight usually. Sucks when you miss, especially if you're like a rogue. Then you're like, oh well, there goes my attack. AC of 14, we'll call that natural armor. Because it's got natural armor. Let's talk Dex, Con, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma, and Strength. I think this thing's swole.
big, strong.
In the words of Matty Morgs in chat, swole plants. 23?
Yes. 23 works for me.
I'm trying to think, how big are giants? Potion of Stone, a Frost Giant Strength, I think, is 23. Right? I think this thing's about strong as a Frost Giant easy.
Yeah, I was even thinking you could go one more.
I don't want to go too far because this thing's also going to have some intelligence and wisdom. I feel like saving throws are going to be hard to get this guy with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think 13 is okay. 23 is good for now, and we'll maybe come back to it if we need to. I think it's going to be all right. So you got +6. Dex.
It's probably its weak point.
I don't think
we've already established.
That bad, though,
we've already established that it has a.
I think it's like 50. A 15.
I feel like it needs a weakness, though. I like the idea of there being something baked into most monsters that, like, they're not in particularly good at this thing.
Well, and that's it. It's its armor class, right?
Yeah, I mean, like a stat, though. I don't know. I feel like there should be something that it's not, like...
A 15... Here's the thing, right? A 15, so it's a +2. If it's not proficient in dex saves, that's a super serious weakness. At CR 15. Right, we got to look at it at like compared to CR. Right?
Oh yeah, no, I agree, but even at the CR,
recommending a 10. I don't know. I see this thing is so 10, much faster, but if you guys are saying 10,
10 feels because the big kind of lumbery pumpkin, and I imagine like he makes up for some of his.
I was thinking he'd be fucking fast though. I guess he's just big.
Around, yeah. I don't know. There's kind of a maybe we just lower the speed a little bit. Although you seem very excited about that big speed. I really like
this. I love the spider-like feel. That's what I was rationalizing against, like almost like a giant daddy long legs, but pumpkin with its vine. Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool with calling that a 10. I'm alright with that. I mean, I prefer it at a 15, but it doesn't matter.
Con's probably pretty high.
I think it's Con's like a card pocket was saying an 18.
Thinking like 18. No, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I guess we could go with 18. I personally was seeing like a little higher than that, just because of what it is. But
could make a case. Don't have any strong feelings between 18 or 20.
So I think we give it 15 in, so it's smart.
Yeah, it's not dumb, but it's not like, it's not brilliant.
Yeah, the 12 I see card pocket suggested on wisdom. I like that, and then the charisma. I think this is where it kind of comes back up.
Maybe 21.
I was thinking 2021 as well. Card pocket suggested 20. 21 is basically the same thing.
Yeah, feels right though.
It feels cool. The same thing for all intents and
purposes. So that's a beefy boy.
See, Farful's asking, how does it move so quickly? It's because it's on all these vines. They're just fast. It's big. Lots of legs. Lots of legs means moving fast. We can move the speed down a little bit, I guess.
Do 40?
40.
Yeah, definitely not 30. I think it definitely should be faster than people. And it's got a lot of range, I imagine, with those vines.
Oh, yeah, no, the thing's got range of Palooza. Matty Moore saying, if you enjoy the seeds idea, you can make some seeds attractive with spell components, or even a delicacy if prepared properly. Oh, that would be neat. See, I think that'd be pretty radical in like if we're doing like a full monster page write-up, right? We could put that in like the lore maybe. That would be pretty neat. Howdy, Patchwork 98. Welcome to the stream. Let's see, what do we got? I think I've seen you here before. But
yeah, Patchwork's been here a bunch of times.
I think he's there for Worlds a lot, right?
Yes.
Sorry, they. I don't mean to assume you're anything. Regardless, let's talk about skills. Pumpkin. I don't know if the Pumpkin has any skills. I know. Forgotten what I was saying earlier. Climb, but climb's not really a skill. It'd be athletic.
Athletics, yeah.
And I don't think it needs
I
athletics.
think if we're gonna give it,
all its grappling is going to be a DC based.
I think if we're gonna give it climb, we'd be more inclined to just give it a climb speed, which maybe it has with those vines.
Yep, I think it does.
Also, Jeremy, my computer says it's not charging and it's going to shut down soon. So I want to see if I can fix that. Hold on a second.
All right. Well, Pete does that. It's always something new on DnDTime. Survival, nature. Well, you see, I don't think this is like a natural creature so much, right? The pumpkin, I think, is some sort of monstrous. It's a plant, but this is not a natural plant. This is like kind of like how blights aren't natural plants, or the Gulthias tree isn't a natural plant. Something really bad happened to make the pumpkin, so I don't think it necessarily needs skills. Really, it doesn't need intimidate because it's going to have some sort of
the fear,
a feature that does that. It doesn't need like, yeah, I don't know. Survival, nature, maybe.
Oh, and thank you very much, Maddie. I very much love this chair. This is my DMing chair. I refuse to DM outside of this chair if I am at my own house.
You see, that's an indication right there. Now, Pete, if you brought it with you when you DM'd elsewhere, that's the real key.
I need to get a truck for that, but maybe someday I will be in that kind of situation, or really, ideally, I just never have to DM outside of my own house in the future.
Well, Farfel 13, how is it going to do its musical number without performance? Farfel, that's exactly the thing. It's really bad. That's why you have to battle it. Anyway, let's start talking about saving throws. What do we want the saving throws to kind of look like for this thing?
I feel like it just kind of needs a wisdom save. Like, I don't know why it would have it, but I feel like
I can tell you immediately, right? It's kind of chaotic, disturbed mind.
Well, yes, of course.
Right? It's hard to wrangle that in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really do it much favors, but so I think wisdom's a good one.
Yep. Charisma, probably also charisma saves.
Yeah. I don't think it has intelligence. I think that's one of its weaknesses, probably.
I agree. I actually don't necessarily think
it con either.
I was actually thinking it might not have strength either.
Yeah. What's interesting, if you look at a lot of monsters in the monster manual, the skills the saving throws they're proficient in generally aren't their good ones. Wizards uses the saving throw proficiency as a way to kind of like offset weak skills, which I don't totally agree with. But I don't see it having strength either.
Yes. But Dex, I actually can see a little bit. As much as I wasn't like feeling the Dex on the speed,
all the vines.
I can picture the vines like a fireball hits it, and then all of the vines kind of push up, having it like stand up straight off the ground, and it like dodges things. Like I don't see that as a movement, but as like a very quick reaction. I can see it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, in that case, what's the what is the proficiency bonus for CR15?
Let me crack up in the monster
I would think it would be +5, but I don't know.
It is a +5, in fact, Pete. So that's you can go
5.
and put those in.
I got it.
I don't think I have to worry about skills for this guy, to be frank. I just don't think it needs them.
If we come back later, if we like decide on something about the pumpkin that we like realize is key to who the pumpkin is, then we can give him that skill. But
agreed. Oogie Boogie is a Yugoloth. Prove me wrong. I can't prove you wrong. You got it. You figured it out, Patchwork. I'm with you.
Among other things, and this is I'm getting ahead of us right now, and this is something I might come back to. I picture that the pumpkin has a web sense for his pumpkin patch, like a spider has for its webs.
Absolutely.
But let's talk damage vulnerabilities, as that's the next thing. And my thought is, honestly, well, there was some talk about slashing vulnerability. If there was going to be one, though, smashing pumpkins, it seems like bludgeoning would be the one.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it has a vulnerability, but I think if we go up to these other features, like the the fear or the swallow or maybe like vines, I think we can tie in some sort of mechanic that, like, if you do enough slashing damage, it can't use its vines next turn, or its vines have disadvantage. Or if you smash it with enough bludgeoning damage, it can't use its fear effect because its teeth are all smashed in, right?
Yep.
I think doing something like that could be a really cool way of incorporating those weaknesses without
and then make them a little bit more. Well, also it's personally, I think that's just more fun to play against too. Even though like vulnerability is technically better, and if in a situation I was like told like, oh well, you can either deal double damage or it'll have this weird kind of niche effect. Vulnerability is better, but it feels better when you like shut down a move because of a thing that you did.
Ooh. So Charlius the Brown. Gonna put that up here under the adventure thing. Because, you know, if we make an adventure, I want Sir Charlius
Boogie
Brown.
is a Yugo love.
Alright. So we got the Pumpkin. We're still gone. Yeah, so I don't think we need vulnerabilities. This high up, I don't like it. Because this high up, people have so much damage that if they find the vulnerability, the game's over. They just kill it. It just explodes, it's gone. So that's my personal feel there.
Works for me. Damage resistance.
Lightning?
The answer to that would be, I mean, well, for one thing, I think it has fire immunity.
Oh yeah, I think so. Wow.
I'll let you put that there now.
See, I was thinking I'm thinking Shambling Mound, right? And Shambling Mound has resistance to like lightning and actually, you know what? Shit. I just said that thing about resistances or vulnerabilities, but I'm thinking of vulnerability to cold seems super appropriate here. Pumpkins wither up in cold.
Well, I was just thinking see, I like the idea of giving it sort of some elemental resistances, but just not giving it resistance to cold.
Yeah, maybe. That would do it too.
And then it still feels like if you use cold on it, then it feels like it has that kind of like, oh, we found a good way to get at it, but it's not necessarily, again, getting into that vulnerability territory.
Maybe if you hit it with cold damage, it does less fire damage, right, on subsequent
Yes.
That'd be another neat way to kind of build that interaction in.
It slows it in some way and describe how it wilts or something along those lines. I think it's a good, cool idea to put more of these sort of maybe that's kind of a big focus where different damage types have different effects on this thing. And that's a thing that we sort of doubled down on in the design throughout it.
Yeah. Cold stuff. When dealt cold, something happens.
And then damage resistance. Do you think it would have any resistances to damages, non-magical, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, do we even want to give it lightning? The only plant I know that's immune to lightning is the Shambling Mound. But I think that's supposed to be like in the flavor, right? The Shambling Mound is resistant, or it might even be immune to lightning because it's because it's like it was brought to life, right? It was animated. And I know the flesh golem has a similar kind of feel, I think, where it is also, I think, I think, God, I hope I'm not wrong on that. With so many monsters in my head, I forget something. Yes, it's immune to lightning. And the whole point is, it's alive kind of feel, right? The lightning brought it to life. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that the Shambling Mound is the same deal where it's actually healed by lightning. So maybe there's something we want to work in with that.
I wasn't necessarily thinking of the lightning as... I was thinking of it more as just like a baseline elemental resistance than I was as being like anything kind of significant. Maybe...
well, my question is, do we want it to be resistant? I don't think it's a big feature here, but do we want it to have resistance or just not even bother?
I think if we're gonna do lightning, we probably want to do several of the other elements. We want to do like acid and maybe thunder and lightning, all of them together, so that way the cold kind of stands out as, you know, something a little bit more unique and interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I think like poison and I think acid would be perfect.
You see, I would actually think that it wouldn't have resistances to poison because when I think plants, a lot of the time I think like very fragile, like very much able to be poisoned.
You know what? You know what I think, Pete? I think in this case, we leave it with just immunity to fire. We don't really give it too many other resistances, and we just really double down on how much this cold vulnerability actually helps. Right?
Sure.
I think that'd just be neat. Or not vulnerability, but cold stuff, whatever we're going to call it. Condition immunities.
Blinded and deafened are pretty standard. They're pretty standard plant ones for starters.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, what on earth? Exhaustion, probably. Not that it matters. Yeah, it definitely can't be feared.
And maybe that's it.
Yeah, that might be it. Do we want to give this thing Siege Monster just for yucks?
Why not?
I think this thing can destroy everything. I think that's the threat of it, right? Is it destroying the world?
I will get those conditions. I was getting the conditions.
I mean, it's just poisoned. Oh, actually, shit. Exhausted. You got it. Hello, Diadems. Welcome to the
we did
stream.
Blinded, Deafened, Exhaustion, and we had, I think, another one. And I can't.
I don't think so. I think that's it.
I thought we had decided. Oh, Frightened.
Fear.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I don't think it'd be Charmed either. I think this thing's straight up immune to Charm.
Works for me.
Yeah, I kind of like. I want to look at like what do demons have, because I see this thing almost like a demon, right? Like Charmed, Exhaustion, Frightened.
Demons have poisoned usually, but that's not really what this thing is. Yeah, I think it does make sense for it to have to be immune to prone, because it is a pumpkin and it just sits on the ground.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And Diadems, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Fire Breath / a Fireball ability. I agree, Patchwork. I really want to do something really cool and like novel with the kind of light from the jack-o'-lantern. Siege Monster. It's got a cold stuff. So let's start looking at these abilities. We're gonna give it a swallow feature, and it's already gargantuan. It's gonna have a vine whip / grab. Farfel suggested we look at the Roper, and I think the Roper might be a great place to start with that.
Sure.
So scrolling down to its like attacks, right?
So yeah, it's probably its kind of core attack is going to be some type of vine whip.
So an interesting thing about the Roper specifically is when players attack the Roper, they can actually attack the vines and like destroy them. Do we want to do that with this? I don't think we do. I think it just has a vine attack.
Well, are the vines going to restrain or grapple in some way?
So I think we treat the vines kind of like a vampire. So vampires have their claw attack, and when they hit with the claw attack, they can choose to, instead of deal damage, grapple. And I think this thing has that kind of vibe.
In that case, I think it's okay to make them kind of have hit points like the Roper. Because the way the Roper works, it doesn't run out of tendrils ever. It has like infinite tendrils, and so it wouldn't be like you could shut down the vines completely. It's just like a fun way to get out of the tendrils, which I think is something that we could preserve. I think that's one of the best part about the Ropers, is the fun of when you're grappled, like swinging a sword down and cutting it off. The tentacle flops around, and that's a fun moment for a player where they feel like they're interacting with the world in the way that it feels like they should be able to do so.
I think that's a really cool idea. So we'll call that Grasping Vine. And instead of the Roper, the Pumpkin can have up to 6 tendrils at a time. Are we capitalizing Pumpkin? I guess we are. And instead of 6, how many does it have? I think we stick with 6.
Yeah, that works for me.
And I guess these vines are probably separate than its ones that it walks with. Actually, you know what? Maybe we just don't give it a limit. Right, I like that actually a little better. We don't give it a limit on the number of vines. We don't specify, but we just say that you can destroy them.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We just say, yeah, we just say we can destroy them.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
An indefinite number of vines. Each vine,
and maybe there's a way that we can kind of tie in this cold difficulty with cold with these vines. Maybe if dealt cold damage, it has to make a concentration check on its grapples or something like that. So, if we're not going to make the grapples a major part of its kit.
One thing that we could do that could be neat, right, is maybe if dealt cold damage on a turn, the vine's armor class is reduced.
Yeah, it could be. That could be cool.
That'd be a neat way of doing it. So just you can, maybe.
Do we want to kind of follow the same sort of convention as the Roper and just do AC 20, just high AC, low hit points?
That's fine. I think that's good.
Yeah. What do you picture visually for the vines? Because I like that mechanic, but personally, just my mental image for the vines were a lot kind of thicker.
Big vines.
Just big boys.
So and I'm still fine. Higher than AC. I mean, maybe they're beefy.
AC 22. Ooh, spicy.
I mean, that's pretty up there, but I mean,
yeah, and 10 hit points. I think is I think that's fine.
Oh, I like this layer action summon scarecrows. I'm gonna just put that down under layer action for right now, Patchwork, because that's a radical one.
And maybe we can also because we're going to be doing more than just this one monster. Maybe we also do something involving scarecrows at some point.
Pumpkins tend to be able to take a good frost if you're going to draw for realism. I mean, that's a fair point, Maddie. But I like it. I don't know. I think this thing has the fiery interior, so I mean, you're right. Maybe it's not totally realistic. But
I like the contrast as well. Yeah. I don't think most people will know that.
It's important to know what you're doing before you break the rule of it. So I'm with you on that. It's fair. I don't know about you, Pete, but when I was younger and I would carve pumpkins, I'd always have them out as long as I could. And so a couple real good frosts would come by, and this pumpkin would just be frozen in this partially decayed state. Or I'd tuck it out into the woods and it'd just be out there, kind of half rotted away and frozen, kind of staring back at me with this kind of rotting pumpkin face.
That happened to me. That happened to my tomatoes recently.
Oh, I'm sorry about your tomatoes, Pete. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are delicious, unlike pumpkins.
Pumpkins are good. Jeremy, pumpkins are good.
Pumpkins are good if you do things to them.
That's true. You can't. Well, yeah, no, you can't just eat a pumpkin. I was going to argue for the seeds, but those are better roasted by far.
Yeah, you
gotta roast them. You gotta spice them.
Pumpkin, which can. And
all right.
Because we don't specify, we don't have to put that in there.
So probably it's called something like Vine Whip for this first melee attack. It's going to be strength based, and it's going to have a +5 to hit, so that's going to be in a +11 to hit. And
Pete, how do you about calling it Vine Lash?
I like
Lash better than Whip.
I like it more. Jeremy is my answer. I like it more. Reach. This is a big one. How much range do we want to give the Vine Whip? I think we go pretty big on that. Maybe not quite as crazy as the Roper, which is outrageous at 50 feet.
The
but I was
Roper's
thinking
got 50. I was thinking 20, maybe 30.
I was thinking 30.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I think that's good. Because this thing's huge, right? This is gargantuan. It's very big. If it's
I assume it has
maybe,
a multi.
Yeah, and I'm almost thinking 20 though. I'm almost thinking 30's too far.
You think 30 is too much? Sure.
Because I'm thinking if it's 20 feet, if we're looking at a grid, right? It's a 4x4 because it's gargantuan, right? Yeah, 4x4 is gargantuan. So I think it can reach its length. That's my thought.
Yeah,
That's like where
fine with me.
my brain space thinking.
That's fine with me.
Vine Whip, Punkaboo, I choose you. Oh boy. We'll figure out what this DC is actually. It's gonna be 6 plus 8 plus what's the proficiency bonus again?
Plus 5. So
5. 6 plus 8 plus 5. 13, 19. So it's gonna be DC 19 to escape.
Ooh.
Pretty severe.
I like that. I like that DC. Let's CR 15.
He's a big boy, yeah. Big
Scary guy.
And then for the vampire, the way it reads, because we're going to base the ability to grapple off the vampire's kind of unarmed strike, right?
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
Yeah, I've already got the text for you.
Oh, great.
Pumpkin can grapple the target. Escape DC at 9.
And there's also the ability to grapple from range is terrifying because if you're playing, say, a melee character and you get grappled 20 feet out, you can now just get held at a distance and you're not allowed to approach the pumpkin.
I mean, I think you'd be able to. I think in this case, I'd let the player like attack the vines, but that's when you'd be attacking the vine.
Well, you'd be attacking the vines. You wouldn't be dealing damage to the pumpkin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to remove this note in the grasping vine section. That says that the escape DC is 19 because we have the escape DC on the attack.
That is cleaner.
Let's see, what else are we doing?
So we have the siege monster. Let's start talking about, because this is, I think, going to be one of the, or actually, I guess, never mind. I was going to mention the light, but we know that they're going to have a swallow mechanic. So let me just grab a relevant.
We want the grapple to restrain.
I could be convinced one way or the other on that one. If it's dealing no damage, it makes sense to me that it would restrain.
I agree. Okay. That, or we just make this the kind of trigger into the swallow mechanic. If it grapples a creature, the next turn it can swallow the creature, and the swallow is like, that's where the oomph comes in. That's something I could see too. If we make the swallow really powerful.
4K no los dosed, as they say.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, okay. A diggy.
And we'll decide based on how brutal we make, I guess, the swallow. We don't have that yet. I'm just going to borrow. I'm just going to borrow a random swallow and toss it in, so we can start kind of building around what.
Yeah, so let's look at what we've got right now. We've got our what don't we have? The swallow, the laugh, stem that looks like a crown. I love that like flavor, but I don't know if we're gonna have a place like in the monster for it.
Yeah, that might be just something when we kind of do a write up of the description of it. Yeah.
So what we don't have right now is a fire/light based cone attack. Maybe something positionally minded, like with darkness. We don't have any of its innate spellcasting. The kind of RNG based stuff, if we want to do that. And we don't have anything with slashing. I don't think we want to do anything with slashing because we've got it with cold.
Yeah, it's just we don't want to. I think we only have so much room on the monster stat block.
Well, we don't want it to be too complicated, too. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We want players to be able to figure it out and like be able to understand what they're fighting and start to get it. Pumpkin patch layer, legendary actions. All right, radical. So let's go down. I'm gonna flesh out this cold ability here. Gosh, how do I write that? Oh no. Maybe the flesh golem has an example of the text. Maybe we call that aversion to cold or something. The thing is, I don't want to call it aversion to cold because that sounds too much like the flesh golem's ability. We don't want it to do quite that because that's very powerful. So if the pumpkin takes cold damage, what happens?
I like the idea of it releasing creatures that it's grappling, either automatically or it makes a con save and does so on a failed save.
Does it have any other effects besides that? Maybe it has regeneration and it doesn't regenerate.
Yeah, I think also it makes sense for a plant creature to have a regeneration of some kind if we want to put that on there.
Okay. So if something has cold damage, it actually I really should have looked at the troll for that text.
I will get it because I'm.
Oh, it's under regeneration actually. So maybe we just. I'm very torn. Regeneration.
Oh, you got it before I could.
Yep. The pumpkin regains. We'll figure out how many hit points it's going to regain later on. Start of each of its turns. If it takes cold damage is straight to the function at the start of turn. Next turn, the pumpkin dies only when turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. Oh man, that's brutal. That's incredibly brutal. Alrighty. We'll figure out how many hit points it regenerates and avert. Do we want it to let go of creatures?
That just seems kind of interesting to me.
I think it's like doubling down really hard now because it's got regeneration. It's just super.
Well, I don't know. I find that more interesting than the regeneration because the regeneration is, that's a thing that I think players in a lot of ways are programmed to do. But the kind of associating cold with the releasing of the vines, that's something that feels like they would have to learn that over the course of the fight.
Okay, so maybe what we say, if the pumpkin takes cold damage, the armor class of its vines are reduced to 10. Something simple like that, where it doesn't straight release them, but...
Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, I was thinking, like I said before, the con save, but maybe the reducing the armor class of the vines is a little bit cleaner.
Okay, so, and we won't call that reversion to cold, because we want that to come after the grasping vines feature. I don't know. We'll figure out the text for it, whatever we call it.
We'll come back.
So we got the cold, we got the siege monster, which is just cool. You got the swallow ability in there. So basically what the swallow is going to do, right, is... What is it going to
do? It's going to swallow them, and then they get inside the pumpkin's form. Traditionally, it's sort of blinded and restrained is what's in this, but I don't think either of those conditions apply inside of the pumpkin's body.
I agree.
Maybe it's blinded by light, you could argue, but I think it's just you're just inside of this big fiery pit, and it's like a lot of open space in there.
I think that's cool too. I mean, we could have it have something to do with, like, I know there's talk about the webbing from the pulp, but like I like it like that. I like it where you're just not blinded or restrained. You're just stuck inside of it. Because I like that being like an interesting mechanic, right? Where like the player's like, I'm still perfectly effective inside of here, but oh my god, I'm burning to death. Uh-oh. The bite, I changed the bite range to 5 feet because I don't think it can bite people 20 feet away from it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Oh yeah, I copy and pasted the bite lash to get the bite.
Because the flavor we're going for is the pumpkin takes a grappled creature and eats it. Right?
Yep.
So I think we need to have something in here that says that the pumpkin moves a... No, actually, we'll just say it's got a reach of 20 feet for easy mechanics, and we'll say one grappled target. That way, it has to be a creature, right? Or one creature which it has grappled. Because I think that exists in a few other places, where it can only do an effect to a grappled creature.
Yep. And that's how the Swallow is currently being set up, is to assume that it has to be used on a grappled creature.
Yeah, and I just think it just can only use its bite against a grappled creature. I think we'll just make that easy enough. It's a huge pumpkin. We've already decided it's kind of unwieldy. I think it's fair. Vampires regen 20 hit points. They are CR 13 to 15. That is an excellent thing for me to remember for Strahd. But yeah, all right. I think 20 hit points is fine. I think that's pretty good. You good with that, Pete?
What was the number that you said?
20.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Because that definitely is enough that players really have to like look for that. How do we turn this off? How do we turn this off? How do we turn this off? And I think that's cool. Because then the battle becomes protect the guy who can do cold damage, which is cool. I love those effects, especially if you have your spellcaster and it's your wizard and they have chill touch doesn't actually do cold damage. They have cone of cold. No, they have ray of frost. There we go. And that's the only cold damage in the whole party. And that spell is something they almost never use anymore because they're a high level wizard. And suddenly they're the MVP because they got ray of frost. You know, I like that. I like that a lot. How about you?
Agreed. Let's talk a little bit about this light move that it has, because I think this is going to be the most iconic thing about the Pumpkin. Like, this is the thing. The rest of its moves are cool and fun to kind of fight against, but this is the thing that I think is going to be like, this is what the Pumpkin is. And my first idea, what I was mentioning before, was it sucks the light out of a region, creating darkness. Because you were kind of playing around with this idea of it only being able to see in kind of small spaces where its gaze is fixed. I think that the only kind of logical way I can think that would make sense, because I don't think it just exudes an aura of darkness, doesn't feel flavorful, but I like the idea of it pulling all the light in a region into its form, and that's what like the fire in its body is.
Okay, I mean that could work. I'm just trying to think of like, because I think I actually suggested that feature, but I'm just thinking like, you. Now that like I've thought about it a little more, right? Why, right? What's our end goal? Right?
Oh, for one, is your question like, why does it have this feature? Why do we justify this?
No. I'm not saying why we justify it. It's bullshit magic. That's how we justify it.
So, yeah.
My thought process is like, how does this make the battle more or less interesting? So all the players have to stand in front of it. That's obviously in order to not have disadvantage on their abilities and to be able to affect the target, they have to stand in front of it. That's how it affects the battle, right? But how does that actually change the battle, right? Does this thing have some sort of cone of fire ability that maybe is now more powerful if the players group together?
Yeah, I actually did imagine this thing having like a breath weapon equivalent.
Exactly. It's just like, so I guess my question, right, what it comes down to, why are we doing it? And what effect can we get have that like works in tandem with it to make it a tactical option to either deal with the darkness or deal with the whatever other fact?
I think two ideas I have. One, I imagine that while it has its breath weapon charged is when this is happening, and once it expels the internal light, that effect ends. It forces people to cluster up at the time when it's most threatening to cluster up. So they can choose to ignore that, but then they know that they're putting themselves in the way of it. On another kind of line that we could go, and maybe we didn't want to do this because we talked about abandoning the slashing damage thing, but maybe there's a way to create more kind of points of light by just damaging it with like piercing damage or something like that to create like,
I think we're getting too complicated with that at that point, though.
I agree.
If that were like the only...
That would be a thing that I would probably homebrew rule about the Pumpkin in the middle of a fight rather than putting it as a mechanic on the creature.
Because I'm thinking, right, we've got regeneration on this guy. We've got... And maybe we don't need the regeneration, but we've got regeneration, we've got a grappling vine kind of deal, we've got a swallow mechanic, we've got a breath weapon, right? We're really stacking it on there. And we want to give this thing legendary actions. So it doesn't have any bonus actions, I don't think. But it definitely has legendary. And I don't think it has layer, so we're gonna put the scarecrows under legend. Oopsie. So maybe we take a second and think about what we want its layer actions to be. Or its legendary action.
We were talking about we want it to have a frighten effect. I assume one of them will be that.
Fear effect. Maybe like a cackle.
Yeah.
What else? Vine, probably. Vine whip.
Yep.
And maybe like a movement.
Yep, those are the kind of the standard 3.
So then where do we put these scarecrows in? Because I thought that was a really cool idea. I'm just thinking at CR15, are scarecrows really that big a deal? Maybe that's where the fear effect comes in, is for the scarecrows.
Yeah,
if we want to incorporate that.
We could still, we could still kind of mess around with the layer.
Yeah, I just don't want to get lost in
it's just going to be a lot of it's just going to be a lot of time that we spend on that now, but that seems like the most kind of efficient place to put them because they're part of the layer.
But here's my real thought, right? Are they monsters that are just already in the layer and part of the encounter, or are they creatures that are part of this creature? And that's the question, right? Because when you look at like let's say an ancient red dragon, right? The ancient red dragon's kobold minions exist in its lair. Maybe it's like half dragon minions and kobold minions.
But they're not part of the lair.
But they're not part of. Yeah, they're not part of the ancient red dragon.
I wasn't thinking of them necessarily as directly being the scarecrow stat block. I was picturing like scarecrows in the area do a thing, but if we want to go with just use the scarecrow. If we want to go with use the scarecrow stat block, we could just have a legendary action be like summon X scarecrows, which I think would be totally fine.
Yeah, I'm worried that we're getting a little too much in here now, right? Giving it all of these features. Like you look at an ancient dragon, and those are pretty reasonable fights, right? They're fun, they're engaging, players get them, and all they have is flight and a breath weapon. The fear effect, I mean, I guess, is one, but you know what I mean? At this point, we've really packed a lot into this creature already.
That's true, but
I'm worried about the bloat.
I think
concern.
I don't personally. I actually feel like dragons could use some more stuff. Like I mean, like look at say like an aboleth or a beholder, a much lower thing. There's way more. It's simpler in terms of the execution, but there's a lot of very complicated and diverse mechanics in that.
That's true, but it's not mechanics the player has to learn. Their mechanics the dungeon master has to learn.
This is true.
These are all mechanics that the players have to like consider, at least so far.
So, what's the thing that you're least attached to on this? Because personally, I think the light idea, and again, I mean, it was your idea, but I think the light idea is. Okay. I think the light idea is really cool, man.
What's next to the generation?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, the regeneration doesn't quite feel right to me.
Okay.
Or I guess it feels fitting, but it doesn't feel worth putting in when we could do something really unique.
Cool. So, and actually, let's rather than make its own feature, we'll just put it as part of the Grasping Vines. Perfect. And actually, I'm going to reduce that to 8. Just zombie level. Lowest armor class that there can be. Besides oozes. Okay, cool. So we have our Grasping Vines, our Siege Monster. We're good now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we have its Bite, we have its Vine Lash, and we have its Wallow. Okay, anyway. So where are we now? What are we doing? Do we want to take a quick break in a minute, or do we want to keep rolling here?
What I was going to say is, if we want to take like just a couple minutes and talk about what these last couple abilities are, but I don't want to just do the pumpkin today, which is, I think, to really flesh out the pumpkin, this hide CR of a monster, we could probably just do the rest of the. We could probably just do the rest of the episode just talking about it. So, would you like to maybe just take another 10 minutes, talk about what we kind of would do to finish this thing up, what roughly we would go through for abilities and health and stuff, and then come back and work on what your monster idea is? Because for one, I also don't know what your monster idea is, and I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, all right. We can work with that in a minute. We'll get that. We'll come to that one when we come back. But all right, cool. So we got. What are we talking about? What are the last effects? The breath weapon and the fear.
Yeah, and then. So the fear effect is a cackle. Do you think that is a single target? I imagine this.
I imagined it like an AOE, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it had like a life drain kind of feature, like I think the Lich has it.
I like that.
I think that's cool, and the fear part can be. So yeah, if you succeeded, fear, you're immune to fear. Immune to fear part, and I think that's important because if we're gonna make the fear something that like if once they succeed they're good, then we need this still to be a legendary action that it can continue to use. And I think the life drain effect works really well. It's not like super powerful, but maybe that's a way that this creature can actually heal a little bit, right? Or maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Heal, maybe
I like the idea of putting that
hit points on on players. Maybe it's like a max health reduction, you're thinking? Yeah, exactly, or something like that.
And I do like the idea of it healing through that method.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Vine Whip's flat out, and movement is flat out. What we'll end up doing for movement is something along the lines of, can move half its speed without provoking opportunity attacks. That's like a standard legendary action that tons and tons of monsters have. You'll see it everywhere.
2d4 necrotic damage, V-Bunny saying. V-Bunny, we're making a challenge rating 15 monster. I don't know if 2d4 is enough here.
You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger. You can't be afraid to dream big. Yeah. How much damage do you think Vine Lash does? Because that's going to be a big deal.
So it's got 3 legendary actions, and then one, and then Vine Whip Vine Whip takes 1, Fear Effect takes 1, and movement takes. Does movement really take 1 or 2? I think movement is 2, right?
Movement usually is 1.
Oh, okay. So cool. You got Vine Whip and that. I like that a lot. And then the Scarecrows, I think, as cool as they are, I think those are more part of like those are just also
build those into the encounter.
In the encounter, yeah. I don't think they need to be part of this thing's stat block. Yeah, V-Bunny, I like 3d6 on the life drain. Is like a pretty good number, I think. And maybe like heals Pumpkin for half.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, that works for me too.
You were saying how much damage is the Vine Lash going to deal? That's a great question, huh?
That's one that we should probably decide on.
So
that's the core damage.
I mean, the one thing right now that's kind of hitting me with like the weird disconnect is the bite being a reach 20. If I make it a reach 5, you know.
Wait, no, yeah. Wait, why does? I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and then it's just weird because now we need some kind of text that would explain why the creature moves the grappled thing to the mouth. Technically, I don't know. It's dumb. Because right now the creature is grappled 20 feet away, and the pumpkin can bite it and swallow it, but it never moves the creature to it. Right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there's like a text disconnect here.
It makes sense logically the way it works, but.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone would ever screw it up, but rules as written, technically, it's swallowing a creature 20 feet away from it. And the creature never is moved closer, which is just a little funky. Well, regardless, let's just move on because I'm gonna get caught up in these semantics. Otherwise, I get caught in semantics very easily. How much damage do you want it to do?
What's the dice, do you think? I'm imagining.
It's going to be 4 somethings. I think it's 4d6s per Vine.
4d6 makes sense, especially if
it's gargantuan, so it's going to do 4 hit dice, 4 dice worth of damage, and then how damaging are the dice, right? And I think these vines are kind of akin to like a quarterstaff being beaten with a quarterstaff, right? And I think it does bludgeoning. Makes sense to me.
And I had decided arbitrarily for vine attacks because it felt right.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
and
it
then
really doesn't make a difference.
the bite is probably a d12. Big
Sure.
move.
And the bite should be piercing. I messed that up.
Yes. Oh no, that's again that was me.
I typed that. I typed it wrong.
Oh really?
Yep, I just did. We see V-Bunny was saying D10s or D8s. I just don't think it needs to do quite that much. You know, I mean, these are just vines hitting you, right? It's not like a blade of a sword. They're bludgeoning you, and that sucks, but I don't know.
I'm trying to think about how much.
D8, right?
Yeah,
just how much damage
I
we
think
want it to be.
It's going to hit a lot because it's going to hit a lot. It's got the 11. D6 works with me too.
Yeah, I like D6 a lot.
11 to hit's a high to hit.
Pumpkin high to stick. Bite could be bludgeoning. That's a great point, Farfel. It could. I actually almost like that.
Why not? It's a crushing bite.
Yeah. Oh, you know, let's... Oh, I almost want to call it crushing bite. I'm going to add that. I'm down here. I'm going to add it to the swallow with the crushing bite attack. I think it can swallow huge creatures. This thing's gargantuan, and it's hollow on the inside.
Well, my reference... Oh, yeah, because it's hollow. I can see it more, for sure. My reference was the Tarrasque, which is gargantuan. But that makes sense to me.
I think it makes sense for this creature. So at this point, what we would do to kind of hash it out, when you're building a monster like this and you're trying to balance it correctly, at high CRs like this, balance is a little finicky. But what you would do is you would open up a challenge rating calculator. I've built one using Google Sheets here, but you can also find everything here in the back in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I think it's in chapter 9, maybe, creating a custom creature. And you just put in all the information, it calculates out, and that is how we would determine how many hit points this creature would really have, based on its damage, what CR we wanted it to be, and all that kind of stuff. And we'd average its damage over 3 rounds, because that's just how you kind of acknowledge these you deal with it as a 3-round act. So its breath weapon with a recharge of once per 3 rounds would go on. Which we didn't put the breath weapon on there.
And I mean, I think we can just put breath weapon.
Yeah. And I mean, just look at dragon. Maybe I think at a CR 15, we'd be looking at a young dragon, maybe
5/6 or 6.
I think 5/6.
Yeah, me too. And we just copy and paste it, and then
forward, yeah.
If we're going to do the light thing, we would put something in the abilities about, exudes an aura of darkness while light is, while the breath weapon is charged.
Yep.
Or probably may do that. So I imagine it's not always true. It can turn it on and off.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, and I like that, of it being able to kind of toggle that on or off, maybe at the start of its turn.
Yeah.
Would be neat. Now, we didn't actually give it any senses, but passive perception would be, in this case, actually very low. It'd be
12.
11.
Yeah, 11, yeah. Oh, we didn't do the vine sense thing. I don't know if
it would have a web sense for its pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I'll put it on here as a note. We might end up not even giving it to it because it has a bunch of stuff.
I think we will, but I mean, whatever. I think a web sense is pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
if you're on a pumpkin patch, you can't hide from it. That's all it comes down to. At least as long as you're touching it. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool monster. I actually really like this one. I mean, I like all of them, but I really like this.
We'll use.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? We're going to use these.
Well, yeah, immediately and the thing, but all right, yeah, and that's kind of what we would do if we were going to go through and get all of this kind of hammered out. But we are, as always, crunched
Yeah,
for
we're
time.
a little crunched. We maybe should think about extending this a little bit in the future.
Yeah, and I'm down to extend it tonight. I mean, we could do at least maybe like 11:30 tonight or something like that.
I want to get at least one fan creature in here too.
Yeah.
One. I say fan creature.
Yeah.
One chat suggested monster, on the list. So, we'll be actually right back. We got to refill our drinks, and I've got to run to the little dungeon master's room. And then when we're back, we're going to jump into our next monster of the evening. So
Indeed. I'm excited to see what you've come up with, Jeremy.
It's not that great, I'll tell you. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Goodbye.
Hey everybody, welcome back to DnDTime Brews. So yeah, I mean, Pete really talked about my monster a lot, but my monster's kind of a tie-in to the Great Pumpkin Monster, and that's something that I know Farfel in chat called earlier. Mine is the Undead Pumpkin. I
Oh
love
yeah.
the Undead Pumpkin.
Well, it's gonna go really good when we're building. You put undead pumpkin instinctively from all the time talking about the pumpkin.
Whoopsies. I like the Undead Pumpkin. It makes me happy. They're the greatest. They're not evil or horrifying at all. But I saw some really, really cool things suggested in chat. The ghoulish grung. I kind of like the idea of like a ghoul, but it's like it got the grung vibe to it. Or I know Binoxy was saying like a living bowl of candy would be neat.
Binoxy says, "Keep undead pumpkin. This isn't even my true form."
Holy shit, that would be so good. Shouldn't it be an undead?
Yeah, he's probably right.
Yeah, no, you're right. It should be an undead, not a plant. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. This is weird, right? In 4th edition, and I know in previous editions, monsters could have more than one type. But in this case, there's not. It's just the one. I imagine the undead pumpkins are like servants to the pumpkin. They even in their death serve the pumpkin.
Oh.
So these guys are super fast.
I agree.
So I think first things we just got to get rid of all this crap.
Do they have a fly speed?
No, they can't fly.
Do they hop around? They kind of hop around.
Yeah.
Cartoony. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Super fast.
They're bouncy. So these things got a high dex. So first we got them give them a speed. I think we actually give them a speed of 30 because they're small, but they're fast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So give them a speed of 30.
I was also thinking maybe 40, but
I think
they could keep up. Keep up with the pumpkin.
I think when the pumpkin's full tilt, he's got to slow down for the pumpkins to catch up. I think these things have a dex of like 16. I think they're pretty dexterous. Oh, these are CR, by the way, like 1/4.
Also, just to throw this out there, I know we were off of the pumpkin, but I picture when the pumpkin runs, that the big vines are like an octopus tentacles, and they just like flail in circles in front of him.
Oh, brutal. Okay.
Unrelated. Let us proceed.
Yeah, they do roll. They do roll a lot. The Forgotten One. These pumpkin monsters. See, this is kind of a very DnDTime monster. I ran these in a one-shot for Halloween, was it 2 years ago now? And they still instill terror into the hearts of my players. So, like quicklings, but pumpkins. Pumplings.
Oh, I like pumplings. It's cute.
I like that way more than pumplings.
Are they undead still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
was gonna say they could be plants again.
They used to be pumpkins. I suppose we could call them plants.
No. Undead seems important to the idea. I think you should keep it.
Okay, Pete. Let's see. These things are quick, so they're gonna have. Well, I guess they just.
Well, I guess they'd just be. I was gonna say they might be a 14, like the pumpkin.
Well, then they gotta be faster.
That's what pumpkin AC is.
Oh, you're right. It's got pumpkin AC, natural armor.
That's what everyone knows, that pumpkins have an AC of 14.
All pumpkins got an AC of 14, guys. They're unpumps. No, I think
actually.
Anywho, pumplings don't have a lot of health. They've got like one. I think they got 1 health.
Oh damn!
They do not have a lot of health.
1D. Are these tiny or small?
They're small.
Okay.
Which means they got a D4.
1D4.
And which means they're gonna need a D4.
I'm sorry, I get it too.
Meaning they need they'd need a low con for 1 health. So I guess they don't have 1 health.
Maybe 4 health.
Yeah, I think these guys got like a 14 con. So actually they'd have 3 health. No, they'd have 4. They'd have 4. I can do smart. Yep. It's a D4 plus
1D4 plus 2. Oh, I did it again!
Pete!
We're good.
I'm just kidding. It's my fault. Pumplings are not smart. They got intelligence of 4.
They're probably the same wisdom. You think +1?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, they got +1.
They got pumpkin wisdom.
They got pumpkin wisdom.
And then pumpkin wisdom sounds like Pumpkin Wisdom sounds like a really old and outdated version of the Farmer's Almanac used before, used before the Farmer's Almanac existed
I think they have a charisma of 2.
in like colonial Virginia. Oh, that's some pumpkin wisdom.
God damn it. All right, so they got a -4 on their charisma. They're very uncharismatic and unintelligent, but they have just enough wisdom to follow the Pumpkin's orders.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their strength is just set. They're pumpkin.
Yep, works.
They have no saving throws because they're bad.
Yep, skills, none.
Absolute. Well, yeah, they got none. Damage, vulnerabilities, bludgeoning.
Yep.
When you have low CR creatures. Because I like the idea that no matter what you do, this pumpling is going to die. You know, maybe they have more than 4 HP. Well, actually, in a CR 1/4, yeah, I think they got 4 HP. They got 4 HP.
I think that's fine. I like the huge contrast.
Yeah, damage resistance. They don't got damage
resistance. And if these things are the mimics, I was about to say, if these things are the mimics of the pumpkin, if these things are the minions of the pumpkin, maybe we up the challenge rating a little bit, but we just make it so they do a lot of damage.
Well, Pete, the key thing about the pumpkin that makes them terrifying is first we need to go up here and we need to go up to the pumpkin's abilities.
Grab false appearance.
Exactly, we need false appearance out there.
Do you have it? Or should I have it?
You can get it.
I have
it. So Pete's getting false appearance, but pumplings have a couple of abilities. So they got a bite, right? And it's a melee attack. They have only a +2 from their proficiency bonus, but they attack with their dexterity, I think.
So +5. Yep.
Yes, they got a +5. Pretty good to hit. Or
do they bite you, or do they just crash into you?
Well, that's the thing. They have 2 attacks. One is their bite, which that probably uses their strength, which is why it's only got a +2 because their strength is 0. And they got a 5-foot reach on that. And
that's going to deal 1 of something. Probably.
It's probably going to do like a
D6.
D6. Yeah, it's going to do +0.
Just a D6.
And that one does piercing.
Do they have teeth?
Yeah, they have little tiny pumpkin teeth, kind of like grung teeth. How like they're terrifying. Well, these are pumpkins, and I think their teeth are actually like they're pumpkin seeds that are all pointy. Which is how they.
Have you told me about this monster before, Jeremy?
I think I have. And then they have a slam, which is also a melee attack. And it's going to have that's their dexterity. So that's going to be 3, which is their dex bonus, +2 from proficiency. So it's +5 to hit. Reach 5 feet. 1 target. And that's going to do a lot more. That's not even going to do that much more. That's going to do a D4 of bludgeoning damage.
Oh, that's not that much. Plus dex, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. And the pumpling is destroyed.
That's going to deal, on average, 5 damage.
So, this is what the pumplings have. The pumplings always explode. Precisely. Bionic Shaper, precisely. And actually, I think that... so, they have this bite and they have the slam.
It does not sound like they have legendary bonus layer reactions.
No, they don't. But you know what they do have?
They blowed up. They done go and blow up on you.
Yeah, they have a charge attack. And maybe we don't call it charge. Maybe we give it a different name. But we want to look at something like the centaur or some kind of creature like that.
I was thinking the giant goat is my personal go-to for
goat is a very good one. And that is, whoop, oh my goodness, it's all bold. If the pumpling moves at least 30 feet in a straight line toward the target and then hits it with a slam attack on the same turn, the target takes an extra blank damage. And it should be fire damage because it's blowing up. And I think we just call it that.
Oh, because, well, that makes sense as a minion of the pumpkin, too.
Yeah.
Because then we can, I feel like damage immunity fire also makes sense for these guys.
See, I see Farful. I think they have resistance to fire because they're still like, I think they can still die.
Oh no.
Farful saying, I'm changing them all up. What am I doing wrong, Farful? They run at you and blow up. This is perfect. But yeah, those are pumplings. They're just going to chase after you. They're going to slam into you, and they never had to do this charge bullshit before. That's correct. When I first used them, well, that's because they only just ran out of the wilderness and immediately blew up on you. So it doesn't count. What about necrotic damage? Is they're undead? That's a great point. However, they blow up. So I don't think they're going to do necrotic damage here.
This is a polished monster.
So I think actually their CR probably should be a little higher than this. So like 1/2 instead of 1/4, because that's actually a lot of fire damage. Oh wait, no, I remember. It's 1/4 because they blow up even if they miss with the slam attack.
Oh, well.
Yeah, they blow up even when they miss. This thing isn't even scary anymore comparatively. Firefall, they're pretty scary still. These are terrifying for level 1
in that case, if they blow up even if they missed.
Yeah, they blow up, Pete.
I feel like then you don't want to do the charge.
We just put that in with the slam?
I don't think you want to even bother with the charge ability. I think you just do something like the Baylor's Death Rattle, where all creatures within 5 feet of it make a dex save.
But we only want that, you know what? But do we want that if they die anyway?
Yeah?
Okay.
Right. Well, these are the
Farfel, this is for you. We're bringing this back to hell. So I'm going to open the Baylor really quick. And if I look at the Baylor, it's got this beautiful ability called Death Throws. And I think we can just leave this wholesale, right? We don't have to change anything.
Yeah, 70 fire damage.
Yeah, for our excellent CR1/4 creature. And I guess that way we can get rid of the slam. They just have a slam. They don't bite.
Yeah, I mean, just to be realistic, you're never going to use the bite feature on this thing.
I want to leave them the bite. They get the bite.
In case.
Yep.
Well, I like the idea of the first one. It goes up and just kind of bites them.
What's this?
And they're like, what's this? And they smash it, and then it blows up in their face. 3d6 fire damage.
The other version is very simple. If it hits you, take a ton of damage. If they miss you, you just die. Yeah, we probably should have looked at the Death Burst from the Mephit instead of the Death Throws from the Baylor. We're going to just copy and paste that instead, because that probably makes more sense, huh? When the Pumpling, it explodes in a burst of fire. From 5 feet, make a dex saving throw, or take... And we're going to bump this up to 3d6. And yeah, I think we're good.
Probably DC 12.
The DC should be 8 plus 2, which is 10, plus Constitution, so 12.
I think con,
exactly.
Done. That was quick.
Jeez, Matty Morgs, that's hardcore. That's so mean. Matty Morgs is suggesting that other plants would gain advantage against you after you've been hit by a pumpling explosion.
Oh God.
What's the average of 3d6?
I do kind of like it. Average of 3d6 would be 10.
11. Oh no, 10. Yeah, because we round down.
Because you round down.
All right. This is excellent. I like this a lot.
I like that fairy fire move. That might be a thing that we do in the adventure next week. Is set that up.
Farvel saying, nah, 70 damage fits my memories of these things. Well, yeah, you guys are like level 5. I had to just kill you with pumpkin. You thought these were the corn were the real villains in that.
So that's another thing. That's a minion of the Pumpkin. I like that they have like the dex-based damage, because then it's like the fact that they're weak means they're still effective minions for this 15. They scale very well, even though they're only CR 1/4, and the Pumpkin is CR 15, or I guess CR 1/2 is what we ended up on.
Exact. The corn didn't do shit without the pumpkins. Circle, you're right. The pumpkins are the real star of the show here.
What else? What else do we want to do?
So yeah, that was an excellent quick monster. Let's see.
We've had some stuff that people have mentioned before that I've liked, but moved past we've moved past a lot of it. Let's go back and kind of look at some of those.
Yeah, what are some of the other awesome ideas that people have been talking through in the chat? I'm gonna get this ready for our next monster here, so we can. Oh no, this pumpling doesn't have a thing to, or whatever. Monster name. This one's a little different. I don't know what happened. It didn't copy the whole deal. That's fine. Actually, it almost looks better like this. Oh well.
There was a mention before about some kind of like undead grung sort of vibe.
A ghoulish grung might be neat. What other ideas do you guys got, chat? What other like
cool
Halloween themed monsters? I saw Bionic Shiba was talking about the kind of a candy bowl monster, where it looks like a bowl of candy, but it's actually like something else.
I had one of those when I was a kid, and used to trick or treat. We had a candy bowl with a fake hand that reached out and grabbed kids, and I think it said things when it happened like, "That's my candy," and it was very cheesy. I loved it.
Chocolate monster filled with razor blades. Jesus Christ!
Oh God,
that's called awful.
Just whoa.
I don't know. I'm thinking like the problem I have with like a candy bowl monster is I feel like it's either like a mimic, right? Or it's a trap more than a monster. Do we want to make a trap?
We've never quite done that before.
We really have not.
Never brewed up a trap.
Let's see. Creepy killer dolls.
Killer dolls.
Grung,
candy corn.
I'm not actually very familiar with the grung.
I would kind of be into maybe doing the creepy doll vibe, because that's also like a trap. Like you pick up the spooky doll that's sitting in the.
It can move a lot more easily than I think a candy bowl can. I think the candy bowl thing is super cool, but
yeah,
if it's not gonna move, that's a weird thing.
But yeah, I think we move nicely into the. I mean, we go right down that false appearance road again. But I imagine it's something that you pick up and then it does spooky doll stuff.
God! Wait, what if the spooky bowl is actually like a wooden stool with the bowl on top, and it's got like the hand in the bowl, but actually it's the whole creature, is the whole stool, and the stool like gets up and like kind of like a Dark Souls mimic deal, where like the huge arms come out of the candy bowl and it tries to drag you into the candy bowl.
we could do.
Well, we could do the creepy doll like you were saying. I think that's fine too.
I think. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on?
It's fine. It's gonna be this. It's gonna be like this right now.
Why is it?
I don't know. Don't worry about it, man.
Want me to get you? Want me to get the?
Yeah,
I can get the good one. Right. Yeah, I have it up. I can just get that. I can just go ahead and grab that. If you want, hey man, if you feeling that candy bowl mimic, let's do it.
I mean, I was thinking like that just sounds horrifying.
It absolutely does.
It's true terror.
I suppose the person that's giving out fruit is the true monster. The old lady, just CR0 old lady gives fruit on Halloween.
I think we call this the candy bowl creeper, and I think this is an aberration. That sound about right? I don't think this is a monstrosity.
Oh no, it's an aberration.
This is something fucked up. And I think
this thing doesn't exist. Like
also chaotic evil.
Wait, why not lawful evil? If you take more than one.
Oh. Ooh! I like this.
And actually, at that point, lawful neutral?
No, it's definitely lawful evil. It's definitely lawful evil.
I'm just going to arbitrarily give it a speed of 30 feet, and it definitely don't have no burrow flyer swim speed. Like,
yeah, no, it does not need anything else.
Armor class. Probably just dex-based. Or this is more of a strength monster, and I imagine it's not like a complete, so maybe some natural armor.
I think, well, this got like a CR1, probably, I think. Sounds about right.
That works for me.
Lawful neutral things don't murder children for taking a second piece of candy. Exactly, Farfel. Precisely. I don't think it's got any saving throws. Maybe it does have skills.
I mean, I think it just has a false appearance. I think we're back on the. Right. I think we're back on our false appearance grind. Yeah. I mean, really, isn't that just the nature of Halloween? Is that nothing is as it seems? Spooky, scary skeletons.
Oh, using armor class. Like armor class is dex based. It's fast. It's speed.
See, I was thinking it was strong because it pulls you into its candy bowl.
Ooh, you're right. What if it's both?
Maybe it's a 12 dex and it's got or maybe it's a 14 dex and it's got a 12 armor class, but it's a 16 strength.
I think
it's got a +5 to hit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Int, smart enough to know when you take more than one piece of candy.
I think it's got a 10.
10 int, 11 wisdom.
Yes, and I think it's got
charisma 5.
I was gonna say a 14 because it looks like candy.
Okay, you win. Tempting. You win this round, Jeremy.
And I think its Constitution is also pretty simple. It's gonna go an 11, which I just like 11 more than 10. A number of creatures with false appearance are also proficient with stealth. All right, that's fair. We definitely could give it a stealth proficiency. I think that would be very reasonable.
This one, I'm just thinking though, like, I see that maybe more for like the pumpkins, like the pumplings. But for this guy, it seems like he wants to be seen. Like,
I think the next question, right, is like, here's the thing to consider, right?
I've called them he, but this thing is definitely not a he.
Oh wait, why am I on the pumpling? I'm on the Candy Bowl Creeper. The thing is, like, the blights, right, like a twig blight or a tree blight or whatever. Those are natural. Well, they're not natural creatures, but they're like monstrosities, right? They were magically created creatures that are now just out in nature, out in the world. I don't think this thing's out in the world. I think it was like created by a very, very evil wizard.
Right, a very
punished children.
A very unkind person. Vulnerabilities, resistance, immunities, condition immunities, none. Condition immunities, blinded and deafened because it doesn't have eyes or ears.
Yep, agreed.
Does it have blind sight?
Yeah, absolutely. It has everything that it can do to avoid people stealing the candy. I might maybe even give it true sight for 20 or for 5 feet. Just so if someone steals that candy, it knows.
Blind sight.
But why'd you get rid of passive perception? We need that later.
I'm a fool!
Oh, I'll let you. It doesn't, I don't, it speaks, does this have a language? I don't think it speaks anything. No, it does not speak anything. So, understands common. Every year those punks take all the candy. Well, this year the candy takes them. Exactly, Cartbox. Exactly. The old lady that gives fruit made this thing. Jeez. I don't know.
Grandorf.
Grandorf didn't make this. Oh no, she's lovely. She'd never do that.
Understands common but can't speak.
Yes, sorry. That's what it was missing.
And it also speaks deep speech, right?
Is this thing an aberration still or a construct? It's an aberration.
Yeah.
It's an aberration. Oh, deep speech. I spelled speech wrong because I'm bad, guys. Okay, so we're giving this thing a speed of, I think we give a speed of like, I think it's got a speed of 40.
40?
Yeah, when it
comes
runs,
after you?
It's got to chase down those fucking kids if they get away. I don't think you escape from the Candy Bowl Creeper.
No bonus actions, no legendary actions, no lair actions, no reactions.
Yes, I'm going to go down to the false appearance and We got a lot of false appearances, guys, for Halloween. I think it's okay though. While the creeper remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from a wooden stool and bowl of candy. This is terrifying. It just charges you exactly. Does it warn people to only take one? I don't know if it does warn. I think
it has a sticker. Well, it has a sign on it that says "Take one."
Yeah. Wooden stool and bowl of candy with a sign that says "Take one."
There's it has some ability called something retribution, where it has advantage on attacks against a creature that has taken more than one. It has advantage on checks against a creature that has taken more than one.
You know what? I think what we do, right? We call it take one. And I think rather than that is maybe it's charmed by creatures that have taken only one. So it can't attack creatures that have taken only one piece of candy. Does the sign change when it goes to someone that's taking more than one?
I still like the idea that it...
Okay.
I still like the idea that it also beats up people that have taken more than one.
I think we could roll it either way, but I think the idea is it doesn't attack people that only take.
Oh, yeah. But I feel like it can still defend itself against things that try to attack it.
Oh, beautiful Bionic Sheba. Excellent suggestion. Perfect addition to this monster.
Oh, the Vengeful Tracker.
Excellent work. Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. Yes. Which has taken more than one piece of candy from its bowl. See, the reason I like this a lot isn't just because it's like funny.
Oh.
It also, without having like a huge page of description as to what a candy bowl creeper is, this ability tells you that the candy bowl creeper chases you fucking down if you take more than one piece of candy. You know, I like that. That the creature's ability reflects what the creature is, right? It's just the abilities tell you how it works. Alrighty, and I think we're good with Vengeful Tracker. And let's see, what's the ability you want to take? Maybe we just put that under take one, right?
I just wanted to give it some buff against people that have taken more than one. But
the creeper has advantage on attacks against creatures which have taken more than one piece of from its super simple. And I think like maybe there's like a right way to phrase that text, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's pretty good. Everyone who reads this will understand. Fuck you, take one bowl. Yep. All right, so we have the false appearance, we have the take one, we have Vengeful Tracker. We're gonna give this thing claws. I like claws.
Well, it's two big hands pop out of the bowl, right?
Yeah, exactly. Two huge arms, gangly arms.
I was thinking 10 feet long arms.
I like this. Yeah, exactly.
Or do we want to have it have some kind of like first, some kind of like first move it can use, like, you know, where it picks them up and tries and like stuffs them into the bowl? Like, what does it do? Does it just like kill people? Because the thing I'm picturing is the hands trying to like reach you out and like pull you into the bowl.
Pull you into the bowl.
The bowl's not big enough for them to be pulled into. Is the bowl like a weird extra dimensional space?
I think it's like an extra dimensional mouth. Yeah. Oh, you know what might be a really cool thing to do with that? And this is kind of a weird one. In Mordenkainen's Tomophos, there's a creature known as the Astral Dreadnought. And it has an ability called Demi-Planar Dungeon, or Donjon. Any creature or object that the Astral Dreadnought swallows is transported to a demi-plane that cannot be entered, that can be entered by no other means except a wish spell or the creature's Donjon visit ability. And it just goes on to explain what that's like. I like this idea.
Jesus. I kind of like that, yeah.
I kind of like the idea, though, that it can only do that to a creature it's knocked unconscious.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those threatening monsters that, like a will-o'-the-wisp, where if it knocks you down to 0, you're done.
Exactly. So, Demi-Planar Dungeon. Any creature or object that we're going to get rid of Astral Dreadnought.
Although, who was it? I think it was Frog before was saying something along the lines of, turns the kids into candy. I also thought
that's pretty good, too. Do you want to do that instead?
It just seems a little easier. It's just a lot of text.
That's fair.
I like the.
It's funny.
I like the Demi-Planar Dungeon just because of how it's almost funny how ridiculously elaborate it is.
It's incredibly elaborate. All right, so yeah, it's claws, right? But let's give it a Candy Crush. And then it's Candy Crush. It can only use against an unconscious creature.
2 claw attacks or
no?
Or 1 2 claw attack. I think 1 2 claw attack, just because. Yeah,
I think so.
2D, and I think 2D8s. The reason I say 8s is because it doesn't have a multi-attack. It just does one thing. So I think if it's CR1, comparing it to say a bear, which does a D8 and then 2D6.
Don't worry, I fixed it, Card Pocket. It's now Candy Crunch.
9, 12. Slashing damage.
My thing's all screwed up. On a hit, the creature is consumed by the candy bowl, by the creeper, and magically true polymorph into candy.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, is true polymorph.
Actually, it's funny because Frog said that earlier in chat, and I thought that's a really cool way. Yeah, I think it's a really cool ability. Because there's a way to get around it now, right? The players, if they're clever and they've defeated it after, can dispel it. The creature is transformed into candy. Within the creeper's bowl, as if under the effect of the true polymorph. Cool. Really simple, easy kind of ability. I like this a lot. And radical. I'm pretty
hit points. We can do hit points on this, Tony. Got time. We're just
why not, right? I think this is good. How much damage is going to do? Just 12?
Well, it's going to be a D8.
Oh. Vasil Zoje, I'll never pronounce your name correctly. Dandere, thank you very much for your support. We appreciate your subscription.
I've come to a conclusion.
Love to D&D time.
I've come to a conclusion on how I'm going to pronounce that name until Dandere tells me otherwise. But I've been going with now Vasil Ziawe.
That's probably correct.
I think that is it. Not. In which case, if it's not, I'm wrong. And in either case, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, let's start putting this guy together. So this guy's got desired CR 1, right? What's his dexterity modifier? Oh, it doesn't matter. We're giving it a flat AC. Oh, no, we're not. We're giving it 14. And its constitution modifier is 11. Nice and simple.
So it's just going to be a flat number of D8.
Is medium.
I'm thinking I think we can do a lot of D8 because it's not that high armor class and it doesn't do a ton of damage. I think we can do like
11.
I was going to say 10, but 11 works for me.
That might be too high. We'll find out in a second. How many saving throws? None? None. Any important resistances? No. No important immunities? No. No vulnerabilities. What's its armor class? 14? Oh, it's 12.
That's 49 hit points. That seems about right to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a notch over where it ought to be, but it doesn't do it. It does 12 damage per round.
12 damage per round, nice and simple. And it's a hit plus 5?
Yep.
All right. Does it have any special traits or features?
It has false appearance, which I don't...
that affect its CR.
False appearance. The take one. Yeah.
Okay. So advantage, that's actually a pretty big deal.
Assuming
we can kind of treat that kind of like a blood frenzy, like the Sahuagin do. They have advantage on creatures that have reduced or below maximum hit points.
Yeah, I think that works.
Like that, I think we can call that something similar. Actually, I don't think that's quite right, because here's the thing, right? It's only going to have that advantage against one creature.
Because once one person has taken 2, no one else is going to bother taking candy out of it.
And advantage is approximately a +4 is how we stat that out as a bonus to hit. So if it's got advantage, a +4 against 1 out of 4 targets, it's basically a +1. So we're going to actually treat that as a +1 attack from that. That might be a little undershooting it, but I think we're okay with it. And that's it. We're pretty much ready to see. This comes out to an actual challenge rating of 1.6, so pretty damn close.
Yeah, and we could probably curb that if we were going to do it by maybe going with like 9d8 for hit points or 8d8 or something like that.
Yeah,
that's probably where I would take.
Let's look at what your 10 looked like. Your 10 doesn't meaningfully impact. But 9. Oh, it's defensive CR is not calculating correctly. See, this is why I haven't released my calculator. It's not right. It's not negative 2.25. So something's a little funky right now, and I'm not sure what it is. We'll figure it out. Yeah, it's at this point when you get to really low CR monsters, things get a little wonky. It doesn't quite work out correctly, but I think this is pretty good for a CR1 monster. What does it compare to like some other CR1?
Well, the one that I was thinking of was the bear.
Oh yeah, which a really common one.
Yeah, which has a multi-attack where it gets to deal 2d6 plus 2d6 plus I believe 4, and then, or no, is it 2d6 plus 3, and then a d8 plus 3.
Yeah. So that does a lot more damage, but it has probably
more
less
damage
health.
per round. It has a little bit less health. It doesn't have any additional
armor class, or pretty much.
The armor class I think might be 11 on a bear or something like that.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty good. It's pretty much on point, I think.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit, a tiny bit over where it should be, which is what the thing said. So.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not though. Because the thing is, what you have to really worry about with low CR creatures is because they're against low-level players, right? We have to worry about one-shotting them, and that sucks. I don't think this thing is going to one-shot them. That bear, because of the multi-attack, can, like, kill a player out.
Yeah, can maul and go. Very much like if you encountered a bear in the woods, what would happen to you?
Because it bites, you go unconscious, and then it uses its claws and crits because you're unconscious and you die. And you're dead.
Yep.
Right? So, that... in one turn kills you.
That's a threat. But yeah, that's the candy bowl creeper.
V-Bunny's saying the true polymorph can ruin a character. You're absolutely right. That's but that is not unheard of. So for a what do we call it? The Will-O-Wisp is a creature Pete mentioned. And I know the Shadow is another creature that does it. There are a bunch of creatures that can do that can kill a character.
And that is not rated as part of the challenge rating, the ability to, like, kind of remove someone like that. It's scarier, but it doesn't affect like necessarily the difficulty of the encounter. It just affects kind of the end game stakes of it.
And what's interesting, the reason I actually like the true polymorph here is you can dispel a true polymorph. Dispel magic can remove a true polymorph. As kind of lame as that might sound, that it technically works.
Yep. You gotta roll a high DC, but
yeah, well, exactly. And so there's a way to get rid of this. You know, a creature is petrified. The only way to get rid of that is to go to someone who can cast Greater Restoration, which is holy shit. That's what, level 5 spell?
Yeah.
Is it? Which is huge. A Dispel Magic, which is level 3, is a little more attainable, I think. And yeah, V-Bunny at level 1. Shadows are CR1. Cockatrice, I think, are CR1 quarter. But they only petrify for a short time. They might. Yeah, well, no, you can't dispel magic, but odds are you can probably find an NPC in the world that a lot easier than you could find an NPC that could Greater Restore. Medusas are only CR2 or something, right? Or maybe they're CR5. I don't remember. I never fight Medusas.
Yeah, anyway, realistically, I can't actually see this thing getting to use that ability.
Oh, CR6, damn.
I think it's a pretty rare situation in which this thing has the ability to use it. Because again, with its single attack, it's very subject to the healing word circle and never getting to, candy a downed creature. And I like the ability also just from the standpoint of explaining, like, oh man, all the candy in this thing, those I might have eaten a small child a moment ago.
Oh, actually, you know what I like? I think we want to specify it can only do this to one unconscious creature which has taken more than one piece of candy.
Yep.
There we go. But anyway,
you will make up for that second piece of candy with your body.
Like Bionic Shiba was saying in chat right there, if your DM is putting you against this creature, they probably have thought it through a little bit. This is kind of like the point where, as a player, if this were to happen to you, your initial reaction is, oh my god, my character's dead. Which might be the case. But it's kind of like, this is where you have faith in your Dungeon Master, right? Because your DM usually isn't, and shouldn't, I would go so far as to say, be going out to kill you. I don't do that, despite contrary to popular belief. Pete doesn't do that. Good Dungeon Masters don't plan to kill you, especially in longer term campaigns.
Every Dungeon Master jokes that they do. And every single Dungeon Master looks over the things like, oh, today's the day you all die. But no one actually means it. Or
Farful's asked
almost nobody.
Question. Farful asked, what happens if you put the candy back? And I think it's really important we do not say.
Yeah.
Because we want to leave that wiggle room for a Dungeon Master to say, okay, yeah, you give the candy back and it leaves. Or the Dungeon Master say, oh no, you took a piece of candy. You're going down. I like it. I think that's a good open space that I think it's important we leave.
I do like the mental image of, like, the player takes their action to put the candy in, and on the thing's turn, it kind of, like, stares at them for a moment, and the player's
takes his huge fingers and just, I'm looking at you.
Just kind of breathes a sigh of relief, and then it just goes back to attacking them immediately. That's a cute monster.
I like this a lot. Thank you for your suggestion. I think it was Bionic Shiba, but I'm not positive. But yeah, and of course, thanks to everyone else for contributing. I really like this guy a lot, actually.
Yeah.
This is a very DnDTime monster too.
Oh yeah. And I think
I'm with you, Forgotten One. If you took more than one, giving it back won't help you now. Judging you for what you've done. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's probably going to wrap us up. We ended up kind of finishing pretty close to time here.
Well, it's because the pumpling.
Well, the pumpling was like done already.
I also love that we now have a name for them as pumplings instead of just kamikaze pumpkins, as I had called them previously. And I know
better name.
Yeah, much better name. And of course, I know the Forgotten One was saying, why doesn't it do necrotic damage? Well, when you run on Pumpling, feel free to make it necrotic damage, you know? There's no particular reason. I mean, we picked fire damage because it fit in with the Pumpkin. But, it's all whatever. But you guys made it way better than I would have thought. Sheba, we made the Pumpling way better than I would have thought.
It's the power.
But yeah, I'm pretty pleased. Is there anything we wanna say? I know we're pretty much on time.
Absolutely. I think there's a few things we want to say. The first of which is tune into our other stuff. The next thing that's going to be happening and related to DnDTime content is the upcoming Wednesday, which is going to be DnDTime Talks, where Jeremy and I talk about various just dungeon mastering advice and just kind of miscellaneous Dungeons and Dragons topics. But specifically this Wednesday, we are going to be talking about holidays and kind of running festivals and celebrations in your game. When to use them, why to use them, why they're so much fun. And I know that is my opinion. I think it is yours as well. But I love that kind of stuff. So we're going to be talking about that.
Yep. It can be. I'm really excited about that, actually. One of the things that I really want to do is like, at some point when I'm running like a long-term campaign and I want to do a Christmas special, anyway, or like a holiday thing, I want to tie that into what's going on in the game, even if it's not the right season in the game. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. We've got some cool ideas I'm excited to talk about and share. I almost jumped into it right now. Oh no, I'm too excited, guys.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Friday, we continue the Carnival of Souls in Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, which should be radical.
That's it. It's gonna be dope. 9 p.m. Come play some D&D with we. Or I guess, according to our new Halloween theme song, come celebrate Halloween with we. That's it. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
And this is DnDTime Brews. Good night, everybody.
Everyone.